live from the Huckabee Theater in Hendersonville, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville. We are here with our live stream, and we really are live. I'm feeling my pulse. We're okay. We're really live. This is As You See It. Glad to have you joining us. Pam Kay, senior producer for the Huckabee Show, joins me as she does on Fridays for our live stream. And we're just really glad that you joined us for our live stream today. Remember, throughout the entire telecast, you can send questions in the chat. You can send a super chat, moves it right up to the top of the list, more visibility. We got moderators who are checking it all out, watching for your questions, feeding them to us. We'll try to get to as many as we can. We have some amazing, phenomenal videos for you to see. We're going to get to see Joe Biden looking as out of place as bacon-wrapped shrimp at a bar mitzvah. That's the way I described it on Twitter this week because, well, when you see the video, I think you'll understand what I'm talking about. We're also going to talk a little about the elitist nut jobs having their lovely little meeting at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. And Karine Jean-Pierre announces a new president. You didn't know we had one. Oh, yes, we do. At least according to the White House press secretary, we do. We'd like to start our programs with a pre-show poll. We ask a question while people are ready to join us and see what they think. Pam always presides over that. So, Pam, what do we got today?
Well, first of all, you said bacon, so you have my attention.
Yes, indeed.
Well over 200 have participated today in our pre-show poll. Do you think GarageGate, and of course GarageGate referring to the Biden doc scandal, will get Biden impeached? Okay, that's the question.
Yeah.
Yes, 37%. No, 63%. So that's where we are pre-show today.
I tend to say they're probably right on the no.
Same.
Now, you can impeach a president does not mean he's convicted or thrown out of office. As we saw, Donald Trump was impeached twice.
Right.
And that was ridiculous, but he was. Basically, the House could do it. The Republicans have a very slim majority. I'm not sure they would, but they could. But it wouldn't mean anything because it would die a painful death on the floor of the U.S. Senate if the House ever even walked it over there. So probably not going to happen because why bother with the exercise if it has no future? Now, if you enjoy watching this show, which I'm sure you do us a little favor, hit that like button. If we get 1,500 likes before the end of the stream, you know what will happen? It helps us boost in the YouTube algorithm. So the video will be shown to more people, which I know you want to see happen just like we do. So touch, push, shove, smash that like button, whatever you got to do to it. But let's get up to 1,500. Otherwise, nothing else happens. It's not like we're giving out free ice cream. It's too cold for that today. Also, have you subscribed to the channel yet? And if not, why not? What's wrong with you? Subscribe to the channel. Do it now. Hit the notification bell. You see it before you. And be sure to leave us your comments. Speaking of leaving comments, one of our features of the live stream is to feature a favorite comment from last week. This one comes from Janelle Meager, who said, quote, "My question for Joe Biden is his Corvette electric?" Love that quote. I think the answer to that is a great big fat no. In fact, it is a gas-guzzling machine. But it's okay, because if people who are on the left burn fossil fuel, they must have a good purpose for it. It's just the rest of us who are not supposed to fly around in airplanes or have gas-guzzling cars or, in fact, have any kind of gas car or even a gas stove for that matter. But I say, who's going to bake the biscuits if we don't have a good gas stove? I mean, that's part of the deal, right? And boy, did the left ever have their heads handed to them over just tossing out for discussion this notion of banning gas stoves. Yeah. Boy, that died quickly, didn't it?
It did. It was there. It's gone.
Yep. What about this one? I think it's down the river. All right, here's my question for you this week. We'd love to get your input. Does border security matter to you personally? Let's be sure to get that part in. Does border security matter to you personally? How does it impact you, if at all? Leave your answers in the chat or in the comments section below. I want to go to our first clip of the day. This is Joe Biden talking about the fact that he said that when he was younger, He would go to his Catholic Mass, because Joe's a professing, I won't say practicing, a professing Catholic, even though he takes stands that are so distant from Catholic theology. It's amazing that he even pretends that he embraces that faith. But he said that he would go to Mass at 7:30 in the morning, and then he would go over to a black church and basically pretended that he's really more of a member of a black church than he was a Catholic church. Let's watch.
And let's lay one thing to rest. I may be a practicing Catholic. I used to go to 7:30 Mass every morning in high school and then in college before I went to the black church. Not a joke. Andy knows this.
Not a joke. Not a joke. No. First of all, do you believe Joe went to any church at 7:30 in the morning when he was in high school and college? every day.
Well, yeah, I don't know too many that did, actually.
I don't know
back in
too
the
many
day.
churches that have a service every day for him to go to. I just, given his lifestyle, I'm not seeing that Joe was busting down the doors of a Catholic and then a black church every day of high school and college. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he did. He went to a black church every day right after Mass. So he would be comfortable in a black church. I mean, that makes sense, right? He would go into the black church. He'd feel at home. It'd be something that culturally he was able to really relate to and adapt to. I mean, after all, if he goes every day, you kind of get in the rhythm of it. This is Joe Biden just this last week at a black church. You tell me, watching this, if he's in the rhythm. Okay, this is Joe Biden at the black church. What are they doing? What is going on? How do I clap my hands? There's nothing more entertaining than watching an out-of-rhythm white guy try to clap his hands. Joe didn't even try. I mean, if he's totally in touch with the worship style in a black church, he fooled us all in that one. That's why I said he looked as out of place as bacon-wrapped shrimp at a bar mitzvah.
I mean, like I told you before we started today, I was cringing as I was looking at some of these clips of him in the church. I can't watch them.
Yeah.
Just no more. I can't watch anymore.
It was cringe-worthy. But if you really believe that he was at a black church every day and then you see this clip, you're thinking, did he forget what it was like?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I just am amazed. Joe Biden also this week basically says that if you live in a black neighborhood, you pay more for your insurance than other people. Now, there's something really interesting about analyzing this. I want to play the clip and then let me make an observation afterwards.
You live in one of those neighborhoods and you have the same exact car I have in the other neighborhood, you pay more for your insurance on that side. No basis for it, none at all, other than you're black and I'm white.
Now, I've certainly heard people say, you know, there have been times people would be black-lined or red-lined, they would call it red-lined in a neighborhood where the banks wouldn't loan money, certain neighborhoods. No doubt that has happened.
Sure.
If you apply for insurance, how do you know the person applying is black or not? How do you know that?
Right.
You don't. Insurance is sold on the basis of risk. Risk may mean if you live in a certain neighborhood, it's not because you're black, it's because in that neighborhood there have been so many burglaries
Right.
that the actuaries who write up the insurance say, boy, the likelihood that you get burglarized in this neighborhood is substantially higher. The likelihood that your car gets broken into is substantially higher. The reason you might pay higher rates is because the risk is higher.
Yes, crime rate and such. And of course, you can look that up without even going through insurance on your own as you research.
Yes.
So,
Well, one of the jobs of a governor is that you oversee the insurance industry in your state. Insurance is regulated at the state level, not the national. So the federal government doesn't regulate insurance, states do. And within that, you have an insurance department. I can tell you from having operated our insurance department, that nobody cares what color you are. It all comes down to risk factors. So if you, it's the same reason that you want to buy life insurance. If you're a 21-year-old healthy football player, guess what? Your life insurance ain't going to cost much. If you're a 75-year-old 2-pack-a-day smoker with a long history of cancer and heart disease in your family, you're going to pay more for a life insurance policy. Why? Because the risk and the likelihood that they're going to pay. It's all about risk factor. So I know what Joe is trying to do. He's trying to exploit this whole thing and pretend that he cares more. But it's not based on the facts. I want to go to this. We talked about early in the show what's being called Garage Gate. Peter Doocy is being told that there were no visitors logs at Joe Biden's Delaware house. So therefore, we don't know who happened to be coming and going in Joe Biden's home, even though the Secret Service was there to give protection. So listen to this story from Peter Doocy. We'll discuss it in just a moment.
They make the distinction that unlike the previous administration, the Trump administration, they are committed at the White House to being transparent about White House visitor logs. But in terms of what Republicans on the Hill are asking for, a record of who may have been in the Wilmington residence and potentially had access to the areas where these documents were found, it does not appear that that exists.
Oh, it exists, all right. I'll tell you why. Because the Secret Service, who is assigned to protect Joe Biden, has to know every single person who goes into that house. I've worked with the Secret Service enough in my own life to know that if you're going into the domicile of a protectee, even if the protectee is not there, they know who you are and they know your Social Security number. They run a background check on you. And you don't get in if you don't pass that. But you don't even get reviewed if you don't supply all that information.
Right.
You don't just walk in and say, I'm selling Girl Scout cookies. Come on in. Yeah, heck, it doesn't matter. It doesn't work like that. So there are records. If the White House didn't maintain them, or the Vice President, then Vice President Biden's office didn't maintain them, I promise you the Secret Service had very, very thorough records of who came into that home, whether Joe was there or not. So this whole idea that the papers that were sitting in his garage, oh, they were under lock and key. Have you seen the pictures of Hunter Biden driving the convertible in and out of the garage? The same Hunter Biden doing all the business with the Chinese? I mean, come on, this whole thing stinks to high heaven. Yeah. And what really makes this nuts is that with Joe Biden's papers, how did we ever find out about him? Supposedly, his attorneys were shuffling some things around at the Penn Biden Center, University of Pennsylvania. Oh, they found some documents. What were his lawyers doing looking for them?
Right.
Why were they looking for documents? Did they have reason to suspect? Did somebody tip them off and say, hey, there's a bunch of boxes marked classified? How come they didn't call the FBI and the DOJ? No, they called his lawyers. One of their excuses was, well, they were just moving things and saw them. Who pays a lawyer to move stuff for you?
Yeah.
You know how much money lawyers make? Somewhere between $300 and $1,000 an hour. Is that who you pay to move your boxes? This just doesn't add up.
Yeah. I want to ask this question since we're on the subject. Cheryl Harless wrote us early on when we first started. She said, I said no to the Garage Gate poll, okay, the one that we did, our pre-show poll. She said, I think something else is going on. They just now found the box sitting next to the car. This, to me, feels like a setup by the Democrats to remove him from office. That's what Cheryl's saying.
Yeah, you know, I'm hearing that a lot, and I don't know that you're wrong. I'm not going to say you are, because there's just a lot of funny business going on. And the fact that they keep finding more and more documents, but it's always his own lawyers who keep turning them over. And they first found him 6 days before the midterm election, but we didn't know anything about it until mid-January. Now, that's a little weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how come they held the information for so long? Oh, we know why, because they didn't want to have it make an impact on the elections, which it might have if we'd known that Joe's having a garage sale and, 2-for-1 sale on classified documents. You can buy 2 boxes for the price of 1. And I'll tell you, the White House promised, remember, to be so transparent and honest and upfront. Well, boy, that's a joke. Here's Karine Jean-Pierre at the White House walking away and dismissing all the questions that she's been asked.
See you guys tomorrow.
You told me 36 times that turned out to be false. Are you sorry about that?
I'll see you tomorrow. Come talk to me. I'll see you tomorrow.
They did talk to you, Karine. That was the whole point. You had a press briefing. They were talking to you. I don't know which reporter it was who said you told us something 6 times that turned out to be false. Are you sorry about that? She says, I'll see you tomorrow. Come see me. Why? Come see you for what purpose? So you can lie to them again?
Yeah.
When they get fed up with that, it'll be kind of nice to see, right?
Yeah. Well, they're not going to be able to take much more. I mean, how much longer will this go on, really?
Don't know, but we'll see. Hey, if you haven't hit the like button yet, right now is a really good time to do it. Hit that like button. We want to get to 1,500 likes before the stream ends. Helps us boost in the YouTube algorithm so the video gets shown to more people. So smash that like button and do it right now. Okay, I bet you've got some more questions coming in for us.
Yes, we do. We've got a super chat from Richie Samantha Blanchard, who said, if tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty, is true, then how bad do things have to get before it's tyrannical?
You know, great question. Very thoughtful question. I think we're getting really close to it.
Yeah.
I mean, when the agencies of the federal government are actually weaponizing their power to go after the political enemies of those who are in power, that is tyranny. When the law is not equally applied, it's only applied against the people who happen to disagree with the establishment, the insiders. It's not just the Democrats. I know it's easy to say it's Democrat, Republican. It's bigger than that. And I really hope you listen to what I'm about to say. The big battle that's going on in the country, I like to say it's the battle not of the left and the right, it's the battle of the good and evil. And boy, that sounds really a little bit maybe audacious, and I hope I don't offend you when I say that. When I say good and evil, I'm not saying Republicans are good and Democrats are evil. I'm saying that this battle line is a good versus evil. It's like demonic activity that you're seeing. When you have people who will put money on providing support for the borders in 7 other countries, but not our own, that's not a left-right. That's a good and evil issue. When you have people who say, we don't know what a woman is, we really don't know. It's okay for a naked man to walk through a YMCA with teenage girls trying to shower, and this naked man exposing himself to teenage girls who are supposed to shut up and just think that's normal and deny their own natural God-given modesty, then that's evil. That's not left-right. That's evil. I'm sorry, but when people say that there is no such thing as male or female and that you just be whatever you imagine yourself to be, again, that's not left or right. That's good and evil. And when you start saying stuff like that, I tell you it's evil. And you can disagree with me, and if you do, put it in the chat and challenge me all you want. But I think we're looking at something much bigger than the Democrats versus the Republicans. Look, I don't trust all the Republicans. I think a lot of them are absolutely as demonic as some of the Democrats. I really do. And I watch the way they vote, and I'm thinking, why are they doing it? Some of it is the same thing. Let's protect the power. Let's protect the institution. Let's protect the structure. Let's protect the establishment, the Washington world. And I want to think, who's protecting the people? The whole purpose of government in our system is not to protect anybody but you, the people, not to protect the people who temporarily hold power, but to protect the citizens and to serve them and to work for them. Okay, some questions?
I've got to bring back GarageGate one more time, too, Gov. Cheryl Harless did write us again and say that the Secret Service has said that they would supply the log information if asked.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to get asked. I'm pretty sure Jim Jordan and the Judiciary Committee is going to ask for those logs, which they need to.
Yeah. David L.J. Laycock Sr. is asking, so why aren't we moving on China, who is in the Panama Canal, along with Iran, which is causing multiple insurrections of South America?
I think the reason we don't do anything to China, and I believe that with all my heart is not being said from a partisanship reason, is because our current president, Joe Biden, is horribly compromised with the Chinese. His son, Hunter, has done tens of millions of dollars worth of shady deals with the Communist Chinese Party. That's a fact. And Joe Biden, the big guy, as he's identified in Hunter's documents, gets a 10% cut. Joe Biden has made millions off of these deals. Who financed the Penn Biden Center at University of Pennsylvania? Communist Chinese did. That's who paid for the millions and millions of dollars. $50 million went to that. 50 million. Chinese money. Yeah. You don't think that has an influence on Joe when he just kind of looks the other way? Hey, Joe, here's what China's doing. Yeah, I didn't see a thing. I have no idea. Because he checks his checking book balance, and it's pretty doggone good, thanks to all this money that's been funneled through his son.
Well, I'll tell you what, for some additional information on this subject and much more, our Centerpoint program that airs evenings on TBN at 6:30. Gordon Chang is going to be a guest tonight on Centerpoint at 6:30 Central Time. So
great guest,
Eastern.
great guy.
Absolutely.
Been on our show.
Yes.
And one of the leading authorities on U.S.-China relationships. That'll be one to watch for sure.
Absolutely.
We talked about Karine Jean-Pierre a moment ago. She announced this week, we've got a new president. Watch.
This Sunday, the president will speak about the fight to secure women's fundamental right to reproductive health care in the face of these attacks. She will talk about what's at stake for millions of women across the country, and most importantly, the need for Congress to codify the protections of Roe into law.
Now, when she was talking about the president and the reproductive rights, the whole time she was talking about Kamala Harris. I'm talking about Joe. And she called Kamala Harris the president. Wishful thinking? Freudian slip? I don't know. But there we are, Press Secretary. Look, we make mistakes. We all do. We have slips of the tongue. We all do. This week, Joe Biden couldn't pronounce his vice president's name correctly, which was just stunning. He called her Kamala. Or no, Kamala. Called her Kamala. And supposedly she doesn't care for that. And you could almost see on her face, because she was standing right behind him, like, what did you just call me? Are you kidding me? I'm the vice president. You don't even know my name? And I'm thinking, nope, he probably does not.
Well, that's why, like Jim Vega's asking today, Governor, why hasn't Joe's doctor told the American people Joe's mindset? You know, is there something that we should know?
Maybe there's something we don't want to know. Maybe that's why.
Could be. Could be. All right, Gov. Deb Biddy says, I heard the House may pass the ability to detain, charge, arrest indictees. Is that true?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that, so I don't want to jump off onto that one without knowing more about it.
Well, here's one to jump off on.
Okay.
All right, B. Benefield. Would you be willing to be President Trump's vice president in 2024? You knew this was coming. I think he'd be great. He needs someone that's trustworthy.
Oh. Well, thank you for the compliment. I have no indication that I would ever be considered, and I have no inclination to consider it. So I'm probably more likely to be named the commander of the next space mission than to be named vice president for anybody. That would be my guess. I want us to look at something's happening halfway around the world. 1,000 private jets flew to Davos, Switzerland. I find this interesting because the purpose there, the World Economic Forum, that happens every year, and they go to Switzerland and they sit around and congratulate themselves on how much smarter they are than the rest of us, how much better they are than the rest of us, how much better educated they are than the rest of us, and how they know so much more than the rest of us. And this week was one of those just amazing weeks where you had people like John Kerry, who unapologetically goes to the podium and says, we're very special people. Whoever imagined that people as smart as us could sit around and be able to save the planet? He actually said that. And this is one that I find incredible? There is one of the people at the conference whose daughter apparently pointed out that if he's going to go and try to be against carbon emissions, maybe he ought not to eat meat anymore. Let's watch this.
Can you advocate for these zero carbon value chains if you still eat meat? And so I stopped eating meat. Now the math would say, well, you need to stop eating meat 11 years to compensate for a flight to Thailand. Yes, but if 1 billion people stop eating meat, I tell you it has a big impact.
That's it. That's the answer to all this climate stuff. Just quit eating meat. Let's put all the steakhouses out of business. Let's end all of the hamburger places that exist around the world. Let's just stop that. But, it's okay for these guys to fly their private jets and spew more carbon in a day than most people will blow in a lifetime. But they don't eat meat. This case, this guy says, his daughter says, how can you be so for climate and then you eat meat? So I stopped eating meat. My kids come to me, they're all grown, but if they come to me and says, Pops, how come you're out there eating meat? I'll be honest with them, because I like it. It tastes good, and I shall continue to eat meat. I don't want to eat an Impossible Burger. That, to me, is impossible. Yes.
I agree with you so 100%. You know that. Green Hornet writing today, Biden is going to resign. Harris is no better.
Yeah, I think that's maybe where this is all headed. It'll just be so overwhelming, he'll just have to step down. Maybe he makes a deal that he won't be prosecuted for the dealings with the Chinese if he just quietly goes into the sunset. We shall see. By the way, I got to get this other one in there for the World Economic Forum going on in Switzerland. Al Gore, we haven't seen him for a while.
Right.
And when we do, it's like, wow, they must have let him on a weekend pass from the asylum because he sounds like a nut. Listen to this.
The accumulated amount is now trapping as much extra heat as would be released by 600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every single day on the Earth. That's what's boiling the oceans, creating these atmospheric rivers and the rain bombs and sucking the moisture out of the land and creating the droughts and melting the ice and raising the sea level and causing these waves of climate refugees predicted to reach 1 billion in this century.
He's pretty worked up about all this. I tell you, one of the things that I would like to ask him, if I had the chance, I don't guess I'll get to, he, along with the Obamas and John Kerry, all own beachfront property, okay? Yeah. Which I got no problem with. I think that's wonderful. Sure. Hey, beautiful. I don't blame you one bit. Happy for you. But if you think it's about to fall into the ocean, why would you buy beachfront property? If the waters are boiling, why would you buy something you couldn't put your toes in? Because boiling is 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Right. That's some pretty hot water. You can't take a bath in much more than 110. So I'm just wondering, these boiling waters, where are these? I live in a state that is very proud of Hot Springs, Arkansas, that has natural hot springs coming out from the ground. But it's not boiling. They're nice and warm and they're therapeutic, but they don't boil anybody. You don't get cooked like a crab in them. So what in the world is he talking about?
I don't know. He was spewing a lot of numbers and a lot of words. Almost a word salad, almost.
I want to remind everybody who were maybe in a school somewhere in the late 60s, early 70s to remember that we were told in the early 70s that we were facing an absolute climate disaster, global cooling. That's right, global cooling. And if we didn't do something within 10 years, by 1980, we would all turn into human popsicles and the glaciers would go all the way down to the Mid-South and everything would be a massive ice age. And that didn't happen.
Right.
So then it was the ozone layer. In the 80s, the ozone layer, if you use hairspray and dump that fluorocarbon into the air by spraying a deodorant can or hairspray, the ozone layer will deplete and we'll all be fried to a crisp. Remember that?
Yes.
We had to do it within 10 years. It's always a 10-year thing. Right. 10 years is all we got. It's an emergency. And so a lot of people quit using hairspray, and a lot of people quit using deodorant, which really was problematic.
Yeah, that was a problem.
Aye. And the next thing you know, it got to be 1990, and we weren't all dead, and we didn't turn into French fries. We were going to be popsicles, then French fries, and that didn't happen. So then we had a new one. It was global warming. And so then we could spend the next decade. When that didn't happen, then it just became climate change. So that way, whichever way the gate swings, we're covered. It's climate change. You know what I think? These people are crazy. They're just stark raving nuts. And all they really want to do is worship the creation instead of the creator. Let me make it real clear. I believe in planet stewardship. I truly do. I'm a conservationist. I do not believe we should pollute. I do not believe we should ignore taking good care of this planet. You know why? Not because John Kerry says so, because God says so. I'm a Christian. I'm a Bible-believing Christian. I do not believe that I own the resources of the earth, but I do believe God has given them to me to improve my life and enjoy them. But He's given those resources so that I will be a steward, a caretaker of them, and I should leave them in as good or better shape than I found them. So I do that out of spiritual conviction, if you will, not because Al Gore is screaming something about boiling waters. But I don't worship what God made. I worship the God who made it. And the reason that I have a fundamental difference with these climate people is they don't worship the God of creation. They worship the creation of their own God themselves. That's a problem. Okay.
Richard B. said today, and we're referring back to the videos we showed earlier where President Biden was attending a black church. Actually, Biden thought they were singing about him. Remember, in his sermon, he said he wants to redeem America and then the world. So I figure he thought he's the Lord.
Wow. Joe Messiah. Interesting. What an interesting observation. Get away from the windows, everybody. Here comes the lightning bolt.
I was afraid to read this one out loud, to be quite frank. But anyway, I took a chance. Deb Biddy is writing, how many 79-year-olds do you know that could ride a bike, fall off, and not sustain some kind of injury? Just saying.
Yeah, I'd probably be in orthopedics for a while, and I'm not close to 79.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so I don't know if you have another one you want to look at before we go.
I tell you, these last two clips, we got to play them. They're just too good to be true. This is a House member in Minnesota advocating to put menstrual products in the boys' restroom. I know you think you made that up. The only way I can prove I didn't is to let you see it.
I encourage the committee to vote no on this amendment for a few reasons: practical, financial, social, emotional. First, there are a lot of schools that are moving towards gender-neutral bathrooms, and if we add female, we might become obsolete very quickly. Second, not all students who menstruate are female. We need to make sure that all students have access to these products.
I'm a pretty old guy. Pretty sure in all my years, I've never, ever, as in ever, heard of a male who needed menstrual products. Sorry.
I have no words.
It's an awkward subject to even discuss.
Is, but I have no words. I mean, the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard in my life.
I would say to that House member in Minnesota, honey, you need help. You truly do. And here is what a totalitarian really looks like. This is a young lady on TikTok who wants us to understand that when she decides what her pronouns are, we don't have the right to call her what we think or what we want. By gosh, we better bow to her demands and call her pronouns. Watch.
Advocate for how difficult it is to use gender-neutral pronouns. Nobody said that the gender binary was easy. These are not my preferred pronouns. These are my pronouns. You will use them, or you will not refer to me at all.
Okay, I get it. You know what? I'm not going to refer to you at all. Because if I have to use your pronouns, then I'll just ignore you. And I would suggest stay away from any significant lightning. I saw how much metal is there in your mouth, and I'm going to tell you something. It could be dangerous. So be careful. Leave your questions in the comments. We will take a look at them even after the show. And if you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hey, YouTube doesn't do us any favors by showing our content to people. So the best way that you can get all of our content is hit that subscription button, hit the notification bell, and then click on the channel when you know we're going to be on. Live with Mike streams every Friday, unless we tell you otherwise, which we try not to do.